Party Llama. Party Llama makes a party, Party Llama brings a party, Party Llama is the party, Party Llama, Llama party. Do the Party Llama. Party Llama makes a party, Party Llama brings a party, Party Llama is the party, Party Llama, Llama party. Strobe lights, cool hats, disco ball, ice skates if applicable, sunglasses inside, pizza delivered to your door, Capri Sun, bags of chips, variety of assorted dips. Do the Party Llama. Do the Party Llama. Do the Party Llama. Stop. Llama time. Party Llama knows how to party.
Good evening, everyone. How are we doing tonight? I hope you guys are doing swell. Welcome to another night, an exciting time, CSM style. Hope you guys are excited for a great night to do some fun, to just celebrate a lot of exciting things that are going around in CSM. And so, yeah. Has anyone noticed that today, fun fact, today is the last Wednesday night in June? Is that just insane to everyone? Like, it's almost July. It's almost, like, it hurts saying that out loud. It hurts to say that. It's almost July, which means that it's almost 4th of July, which means that it's almost school again. I said it. You're welcome. Anyway, I need to move a couple things around here so I can see chat. So give me just one quick second so I can see you guys all yelling at me for saying the word school. Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, there it is. Stop right now. I love it. Okay, sweet. So, yeah, you're welcome, Soli. So, nice. So, with that said, we are going to, we got a couple of announcements for all of you. Let me pull my stuff up. Yeah, I'm excited. Do you guys know who's joining us tonight, by the way? Tonight, in case you didn't know, you didn't see the Instagram or you didn't see us on Facebook, I'm not sure if any of you get your information off Facebook, but your parents might, and maybe you got that from them. So, but tonight, we have Tim Richards with us. In fact, Tim's looking at me right now. He's waving at me right now. He's waving at you, but you can't see him, because cameras. Haha. So, but we also have Dan Harkey joining us all the way from, oh gosh, I'm a terrible person, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I always can never remember the difference between the two when people say them. They're not even the same thing, but for whatever reason, I still always get them screwed up. So, sorry, Dan. He says, I think on the stream he's gonna say where he'll probably say. So there you go. All right, moving on. So, all right, Dan Harkey. If you don't know Dan Harkey was my worship leader when I grew up and in youth. And he's a super awesome guy. You guys will love him tonight. He also led worship at Big Chill 2014, which I don't think any of you were here for. But then he also spoke at Big Chill 2015, I believe. So He was a worship leader for one, and then he was the speaker for another. So he's a great guy, so looking forward to that tonight. And obviously, you guys, I don't have to say it. You guys already know Tim Richards is awesome. So, and he's excited to preach to you guys tonight. So, So Dan Hartke. There you go, Dan Hartke. Yeah, Luke, that's about right. So there you go. Ella, by the way, says, "Hi, Tim," in all caps. And lots of extra letterings in there to exude it out. So there you go.
Feel welcome.
Tim says he feels welcome if you couldn't hear that. All right, so a couple of announcements for you guys. Number one, don't forget to hit that subscribe, hit that like button, and don't forget to ring that bell so you're notified every time we go live. Obviously, preaching to the choir here because you're here for a reason. You either got a notification from your small group leader, or you just know where to go, or you subscribed because you are just one of the most amazing people in the world. We love you. So, all right, with that said, a couple of announcements for you guys. Number one, small groups are happening this Sunday. We have small groups going on, and we're going to be hitting them with all that we got. So looking forward to those. Be sure to talk with your small groups to figure out when you're meeting. The reason why I'm not saying when we're meeting is because I don't know when anyone's meeting anymore because people are all over the map. So every time I say it, everyone's recorrecting me. So talk to your small group. Talk to your small group leader. If you don't know when you're meeting, just reach out to them. And if you don't know how to get a hold of your small group leader, which I feel like you should know that by now, but in case you don't, just text me and I'll get you in touch. So, because I'm pretty sure like Cindy and Rachel's group's meeting on Fridays, but I think they met yesterday, so I just don't even know anymore. And I think Phil and Jacob's group is like, they're doing like a movie night thing. So, I don't know. Anyway, my group, sorry, you got Zoom on Sunday. So, back to the good old Zoom. Anyway, so everyone loves Zoom, don't they? It's the best. Anyway, all right, moving on. So, at least it keeps us together. So, another announcement for you. This is a new one coming at you. You may have seen this on our Instagram the other day, but we are doing, at our church, we're doing this really cool thing. We're doing, it's like I need to like go up a little bit. It's like, it's getting real close to my face here. Anyway, all right, we're doing a chalk, now the announcement's gone. We're doing a chalk party at the church. Let me just click that back up here. So we're doing a chalk party at the church at 6:30 p.m. on July 3rd. And the idea behind this is that many of you guys know church service is going to, all things hopeful, church is going to be going back to in-person on Sunday, July 5th. And so we wanted to do something to kind of welcome people back because we know a lot of us and a lot of kids, because they're too squirrely. They can't sit still for 2 seconds. I can say that now because I have one. So, and I know he can't sit still. He's literally making a lot of noise upstairs right now. Is he not, Tim? Yes. So he cannot sit still for 2 seconds. So that means coming back to church during this kind of time is just not the wisest decision. But it's important for our families to connect in some way. So we wanted to do something to welcome people back in a fun way. So we are going to be having a big chalk party. So bring your own chalk, and you're going to decorate the church parking lot just to welcome people back. And we are praying it doesn't rain that weekend because that would just be really sad. But to kind of sweeten the deal, we're going to be having an ice cream truck that's going to come by just for us. And so bring some money with you, and you can buy like any kind of ice cream things the ice cream truck has. So I don't know about you, but I love ice cream trucks, and that's literally the only reason why I'm going to be there. Okay, that's not true, but it sounds it's a really great part of the thing. I might be more excited about the ice cream than I am the chalk. Sorry, Debbie. If you're watching this, I apologize. So. All right, that's chalk party. I think we've berated those announcements enough. So, couple of other things for you. So, we have a student corner for you this evening. In case you didn't know, tonight's student corner is going to be by your favorite man himself, Henry Hurdle. So, Henry Hurdle is going to be doing our student corner tonight. And the reason why Henry Hurdle is doing our student corner tonight, does anyone know, hit me up in the chat, does anyone know why Henry is doing the student corner tonight? Just throw out any guesses. Why would Henry do student corner tonight of all nights? There could be a reason. It could be because he's completely awesome. It could be because he is a jokester. It could be because he can do some really incredible impressions. but some of you already got it right. It's because it is Henry's birthday today. And so we wanted to celebrate Henry's birthday by celebrating him and how awesome he is. So instead of me singing happy birthday to Henry, I'll just do a really quick one for you, actually. Happy, happy birthday from all of us to you. We wish it was our birthday so we could party too. Oh, hey, there you go. Hope you like that, Henry. So for Henry's birthday, I thought it'd be great. We do a little throwback. We're going to do a little throwback for Henry. And we're going to go back to one of his amazing comedy sketches from Big Chill. I believe 2018, maybe 17. I can't remember exactly what year it was. But Henry killed it. It was awesome. Take a look and enjoy.
I shall do a comedy act, kinda, as you can say. By telling some jokes. Hey, Andy, what do you call a sculpture that has a lot of questions? A thinker.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Hey, Andy, what do you say to someone when you're in front of a painting and you want to see if they're okay or not? Are you all night?
That's a good one. I never heard that before.
Hey, Andy, what do you call it when there is water in front of a painting? What? A scream.
Snaps, please.
Andy, what is it now? What do you call it when someone isn't feeling good? They're around a portrait. What? They're moaning. Okay, I got one more, and this is the end. Andy, what? What's a front painting? They have to go to the bathroom. What? I have to Van Gogh. Andy, what do you say to someone if they had flatulence in front of a painting or sculpture? What? Did you just art?
Nice. That was so good, Henry. Thank you so much for being willing to let us replay that. And man, props. Henry's got some of the best jokes. That's all I got to say. So anyway, so we love you, Henry. Hope you have an amazing birthday, dude. And it's just full of a lot of fun and a lot of laughter. And hope you got some great cake tonight. So I mean, cake's where it's at, man. That's what I'm talking about. So I want to, Sully, I want a second encore too. I would agree with that. I think that deserves a second encore. All right, we have one other birthday this week that we need to mention as well, and that is Vanessa Snowbarger is having her birthday on Friday, and so we're excited for Vanessa. So happy birthday, Vanessa. Hope it's amazing. I don't know what Vanessa's favorite. I don't even know what your favorite I should know this because you were in youth. I don't know what your favorite candy, snack, all that stuff is. So anyway, and all the retreats, I always ask the leaders what their favorite snack is. I think you always say protein bar or something like that. Something healthy. I'm not going to say lame. I just did. But anyway, all right, moving on. So happy birthday, Vanessa. Anyway, that was a great way to say happy birthday. So, all right, with that said, those are all of your announcements for tonight. I hope you are still not crying. So, all right, we have a game for you this evening, and tonight's game is going to be pretty fun. I mean, I might be a little biased by it, but tonight's game is going to be a little different than most games. It's not going to be a clear, necessary winner of this game. However, there are going to be some good interaction, I think, with one another, so allowing you guys to kind of figure out how well you know one another. So we'll see how that goes. So here you go. Here's your intro screen for that. It's called Possibilities. So It's a game of no right answers and ducks apparently destroying things and pickles giving a thumbs up and just the right ideas. So there you go. I think I'm going to be covering up the duck here. So sorry, duck. All right. So fun little game here. So what's going to happen? We're going to give you different possibility scenarios, and then we're going to pick someone. And then you have to guess what answer they would go with. So I'm going to name someone off in the chat that I've seen talking in the chat, and then they're going to give us kind of what possibility they would go with, and then the rest of you have to guess which possibility it is. Okay? So I guess technically we could, oh yeah, dude, Brandon, I totally want to be that hot dog. He's like a little ninja hot dog dude. It's so cool. So, all right, with that said, let's go on with the first one here. So the first one is this: you're the queen. Time to pass a new law. So first person is going to be up here. Let's just go roll with the first person I see here in the chat, which I'm going to go with Paige Metcalf. Paige Metcalf, you're the first person I saw in the chat because you literally just joined. I think you just said hello. So hello, you are in the game now. Welcome, Paige. So what a way to show up to youth group, right? I feel like that's what we're not supposed to do whenever you walk in the door, is draw attention to you. But, you know, there's no rules on live stream, I guess. So Paige, here's what's going to happen. Paige, you're going to pick one of these answers of this possibilities. You can read that there on the screen. And you have to decide which one would be the one, if you were the queen, which one you go with. But don't tell anyone what it is. So the rest of you, what you need to do in the chat is you need to answer A, B, C, or D as to which one you think Paige would do. So go ahead and start putting your answers in the chat. So here they are, just as a thing. I like how the queen in the picture has a Heinz ketchup bottle. That's pretty great. So, all right, so we got eyebrows are illegal. That'd be a new law. That's a bummer. If you make eye contact with someone, you must immediately give them a hug. Interesting. Ketchup must be put on everything you eat. That's I can be okay with that for the most part. Just really ruin a good salmon or steak, I think. So Paige, don't answer yet until I tell you. And then D, at age 10, you pick a color, and from then on, all your clothes are that color. Oof, that could be bad. So hope at age 10 you have some good color choices, because that's going to be bad for the rest of your life. You're like, I'm going to go with gold. Like, just like, it's not going to go good for me the rest of my life. So, all right. So put in your answers there. Let's see everyone kind of populate. There's some people saying D, going with that. So again, we're thinking, what would Paige do? What would Paige go with? All right, Paige, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go. Give me a thumbs up in the chat, or just, you know, or put like ready in the chat if you got your answer ready in there. The rest of you guys kind of putting in your answers, kind of populating that. All right. Here we go. Let's see. Paige, are you alive? Did I prematurely pick you? Should I have picked someone else? Because you literally just joined. Is your stream buffering? Buffering. She's ready. All right, sweet. All right, Paige, here we go. Paige, give us your answer. I think everyone's kind of answered that's going to answer. So, Paige, let us know, if you were the queen, what would be the new law? Ooh, I like Laura's answer there. She says you want to be the princess, not the queen. You get all the perks, way less responsibility. So true. She says D, at age 10, you pick your clothes. Oh, the color of the clothes, and then you have to wear that from there on out. Interesting choice, Paige. Paige, just out of curiosity, what color would that be, like, for you? You know, like if you were going to do that, because I feel like if you're going to answer that way, you got to like have an answer that you want to go with. So yeah, go ahead and keep points tally. We'll decide if we get a winner on the end of this. So go ahead and tally up some points here. All right, let's go for the next one here. So here's our next one. Cars are illegal. What kind of transportation will people use instead? Let's go Luke Mason on this one. So Luke Mason, this is your one. So get forming in your head. She said gray. That would go with a lot of things. Gray works. So gray works, right, Tim? Yeah, I think it works good. All right, so Luke. Make sure you'll be formulating which one you think it is. The rest of you, you're going to be putting in what you think Luke would answer with, which I'm going to be honest, it could be anything. It's Luke. Man, Luke is just, he's a wild card. That's all I got to say. So, number one, moose-drawn chariots. If Brian Malloy was answering right now tonight, he'd for sure say that one. Giant hamster balls. I think I would probably choose that one because I love a good knocker ball. Rocket Heelys. I think that's like You have Heelys, but you attach rockets to them, I guess. I think that's what that means. And then stilts with rollerblades attached to them. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Luke is ready. All right, we got a couple more answers still populating into the chat room here. We're going to give you guys about 10, we'll give you 5 seconds, and then Luke, go ahead and answer. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Luke, hit us with that truth bomb here. Which one would you go? Cars are illegal. What kind of transportation are you going to be taking around the town? Pretty wild there. Luke says B. He says giant hamster balls. That's wild, dude. I love it. B. That's a good answer. Can you guys imagine what it'd be like to be in like a giant hamster ball all the time? Like you're just like, like all the time. Like I'm just going around. Don't mind me. It's kind of crazy. So, Nor you can't. Yeah, okay. Thank you. You're correct yourself. Nor you can't have 3 points. There's been 2 questions. All right. So let's move on to the next one here. And this next one, we're going to go to Ella Burns. Okay, Ella Burns. This one is you. So when it rains, instead of water, this falls from the sky. This could be dangerous. So Ella, be thinking through which one you're going to go through. Be thinking through that. Kind of go from there. So Ella. All right. And rest of you guys, go ahead and populate whatever you think it's going to go there. So tiny edible jelly slugs. That sounds awful. It's like jelly bellies are good, but I'm not sure if jelly slugs are good. I don't know how I feel about that. Lollipops. Cash money. I like the parentheses and the qualification on this one saying immediately devaluing our currency and destroying the economy. Who am I kidding? It's already destroyed. Whoever wrote this is clearly an optimist. A single large duck that rampages the town. All right, now remember, you're trying to answer, what would Ella Burns say? What would Ella Burns say? Again, like Luke, I have no idea where this is going to go. I also have no idea where this is going to go, not because of personalities. It's also just because these questions are completely ridiculous. So take it for that. So, all right, we're going to give you guys 5 seconds to put in your answer, and then Ella, go ahead and hit us with what's up, what you're thinking. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, Ella, here we go. No, Rachel's trying to put on some pressure there. She's trying to put on some pressure. So, D, nice. He likes the duck that rampages the town. I just got to say, Soli, well done there. Personally going with C, but then you were thinking, what would Ella say? You said, I'm going to go with D, though. So, nicely done, nicely done, nicely done. So, yeah, I think D all the way. That one did sound pretty good right there. If it was, I'm just thinking through, like, different people. Like, I could think of different people that would say, like, C. I don't know if I'd say, I'm curious. I don't think Carrie's watching upstairs, but I'm really curious if Carrie would go with A, because like that sounds like something she would go with. She would go with the edible jelly slugs because she loves jelly beans. That's her favorite candy. So, all right, next one. Here we go. Pick an exotic mythical creature as a pet. This one has Brian Malloy written all over it. So we're gonna roll on this one. We're gonna say Brandon Long. Okay. So Brandon Long, you have to pick an exotic mythical creature as a pet. All right, don't disappoint us. Don't disappoint us, Brandon. That's all I got to say. All right, so number 1, A, not just a Cyclops pig, it's a feral Cyclops pig. B, a tiny winged hedgehog. Interesting. There's a picture of it over there if you didn't see that. C, there's a mare bear. It's like a mermaid, but it's a bear. You can see that picture right here. Yeah, it's right there. That's terrifying. I'm going to have nightmares about that mare bear. All right, and then D, a uniwhale. Not the same thing as a narwhal. Don't argue with us, okay? Just back off, okay? It's a uniwhale, okay? It's different. It's magical, okay? Narwhals are real. Uniwhales, magical. They probably have rainbows and things. So, all right, which one would Brandon Long choose? We got a lot of people going D. We got some people going B. I'm not going to lie, it's really hard to tell the difference between the D's and the B's. I don't know why, because I'm spastic. So Yeah. All right. So I think we got most of our answers kind of in there. So we're going to give you guys a little 6-second countdown this time because why not? So here you go. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Brandon, hit us. Let us know what's up. What would exotic mythical creature would you want as a pet? Now, I kind of forgot about that. This needs to be a pet, you know. He says B, a tiny winged hedgehog. That's a good one. Because you go with the feral cyclops pig, I feel like you're probably going to die. You're like, there's just a reality. It's probably going to eat you for dinner. And then you go with the mare bear, you have to have a lake. And if you go with the uniwhale, again, you got to have like an ocean for it to swim in. So you just feel like a jerk all the time. Tiny winged hedgehog, you can probably take care of that just fine at your house. That's a good choice. I like that. That's a good choice. All right, nice done, Brandon. All right, we're going to move on to the next one here. And for this one, we are going to go with, why don't we go with Haley Holderly. Haley, you up for this one? Haley, you get to choose a superpower, okay? I feel like I should have gone with Nora on this one because there's some kind of like French-speaking thing going on here, and I saw some chatter about French going on earlier. So anyway, but we're going with Haley on this one. So Haley, choose a superpower from this list that you would go from A, B, C, or D, and do not tell your siblings, okay? I know. And don't tell Josh, twin power. I know. He probably already knows because it's a twin thing, I think. So it's scientifically proven. It's not. It's not. All right, moving on. So going to this one. So A, invisibility, but you can't see anything. Could you imagine that? Like, no one can see you, and you can't see them. That's a bummer of invisibility. All right. B, you can read minds, but it's all in French. You probably, I'm wondering, like, Tim, like, think about this with me. If you could read minds and it's only in French, would you become a fluent French speaker pretty quick? Like, I mean, they always say that. Like, they always say if you try and learn in the classroom, it takes you 7 years to learn another language to be fluent. But if you go overseas and you live within that society, it takes you 7 months. So, I don't know. We'll see. So, all right. C, you can fly, but only upside down. He's just throwing up everywhere. And then D, your fingertips shoot spaghetti, like the picture up here. You shoot spaghetti. Like, that sounds like a great superpower. Can we just, like, here, you guys want some pasta tonight? Spaghetti. It was like, yeah, these are home-cooked noodles. Straight from my fingers. I'm always kind of curious, though. Like, if you were to, I mean, it's a superpower, so let's not get too far into this, Ben. But, like, if you were to shoot noodles out of your hands, like, does that, like, do you lose calories by doing that? Like, do you have to eat a certain amount of carbohydrates? Do you have to eat all the ingredients to pasta to form pasta from your fingertips? Or is it just, like, come out of nowhere? I don't know. So, all right, Haley, I'm assuming you're probably ready by now. I've been bantering for long enough, so I hope that you're ready. So we're going to give a countdown here. And, yeah, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Haley, go ahead and hit us with your answer. Let's see what she's got here. I'm kind of hoping for the fingertips. It's a clear winner. But the invisibility one's pretty solid too. So Haley says D. She can end world hunger. Wow, you're a way better person than me. She can end world hunger. How great is that? How great is that? Everyone's going to be loaded up on pasta. It kind of reminds me, like, would they revolt like the Israelites in the desert where they're like, I don't want this manna anymore. I don't want your spaghetti anymore. Anyway, I love it. I think it's great. You are amazing. 1 point for Haley for using her superpower for good. So, Haley, you get a point for that one. I'm going to give you a point. Put a point on there for you. All right. Here we go. All right. Next one. Choose a place to live. All right. So, we're going to send this one over. I'm going to send this one to Soli. Okay. So, Soli, you're going to be the chooser on this one. And everyone's got to figure out what Soli is going to go with. All right. So, A, we got a floating castle, but it's over Detroit. That's a bummer. I don't know if that's a bummer. that's a bummer. I mean, if you want a floating castle, I probably want it over, like, the woods or the ocean or somewhere scenic, you know, not like a city. All right, B, underground cave system with a bat butler, a battler, if you will, named Cecil. He like flaps in there and he's like, can I get you some snacks? You know, and then it flies away and then he steals some of your blood while you're at it. All right, C, a house made of candy, but kids are always stealing your walls and stuff. That brings a whole new meaning to like, get off my lawn, kids. It's so good. Okay, a yacht manned by tiny squirrels. Why is D always the best one? I feel like D's always got the best one. A yacht manned by tiny squirrels. I don't know. C's got a strong winner here. I think C's got a good one. Like a house made of candy, but kids are always stealing your walls and stuff. Like, oh, there goes my exterior wall again. Oh, there goes my roof. Got to buy that. Oh, someone stole the refrigerator. Such a bummer. Yeah, going underground. Yeah, I think the introverts would be cool. Introverts would be cool with the underground cave system, and like you're just kind of like that. Now, I mean, if you have in the scenario of B, does that technically make you Batman? Because I mean, you're kind of hanging out in a bat cave, and you have a battler, you know, so that kind of makes you Batman in my opinion. So I'm just throwing that one out there. I'm not saying I am, but I'm just saying no one's seen us in the same room together. So there's that. All right. With that said, let's go to let's throw it over to Sully with the answer here. So Sully, hit us up with that answer in 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's see that one. Here we go. Batman Luke. I love it. All right, Sully says B. He was going with the underground bat cave. Nice. All right. Sully is officially Batman. So good job, Bat Sully. So that's pretty rad. So good job. Or Bat Luke. Sorry, Luke. But this was Sully, so I'm giving it to Sully. Sorry. So, all right. Here we go. Number next. We're going to pull this one up here. So time to update the dollar. What's on the front of the dollar? This is kind of current news right now, I feel like. So we got a little too real here. So let's throw this one over to, who we got to send this one over to? Ella Burns. Let's throw it to Ella Burns because we did a girl this time. So let's go to Ella Burns on this one. Ella, time to update the dollar. What's on the front? Ella, you're not supposed to tell everyone what your answer is. Wait, did I already go with Ella once? Do I need to go to... Oh, she already did it. Okay, Nora. I'm going to Nora. Sorry, Ella, you already did it. Okay, Ella, you already did it. Nora. We're going to Nora. Okay, so Nora, what are you going with? Nora, time to update the dollar. What's on the front? Just put a big fat... someone just put a big fat fail across my face. So I'll let Matt Mueller do that another time. So, all right, Nora's ready. Rest of y'all get in there. So, all right. So what's on the front of the dollar? Here we go. We got A, a raccoon with a cape. B, a buffalo flexing its biceps. Okay. C, George Washington, but it's a cat. Right there, as you guys can see. And then D, a pickle with sunglasses. Yeah. He's doing this. Hey. You know, it's pretty great. I like the pickle. I want to go with the pickle. Although that George Washington cat's pretty good. And did you guys realize what it says at like the top of the dollar there? It says like meow pluribus unum. I don't know my Latin or whatever it is. So what is on that? Do you know that? I don't know either. So someone's going to give me George Meowington. I like that. That's good, Bobby. All right. So answers locked in here. Let's go in Nora. Give us your answer here in 3, 2, 1. Answer coming in. D, she says, a pickle with sunglasses. Nicely done. Way to give that over to your sister there. So it looks like Luke and Ella are getting points on that one. Nicely done, y'all. All right. So we are going to roll it over to the next one. And I think for this one, I think it's time for Matt Mueller to get in on this one. So Matt Mueller, you are picking on this one. I hope you are ready for this. So time for a new way to greet people, which, let's be honest, that's 2020. So we could probably use these. So new way to greet people, you could probably use these July 5th. So I think you guys are ready for this. So, all right. So Matt Mueller's answering on this one. A, take turns yelling hello into the other person's mouth. Okay, that probably isn't going to work so well. Hello. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, that was way too much Ben. Can we just wait? Hold on. Can we do this really quick? You guys ready? Hello. So when everyone's like, I'm never coming back to this. I'm never coming back. I'm having too much fun in here. All right, B, tickle the other person's chin and whisper boogaboo. It's slightly disturbing. Boogaboo. Yeah. Okay, these are not good for 2020. Touch eyeballs together. Now here's the question. If you're going to touch eyeballs together, like if you have contacts, does that mean you're swapping contacts? You're like contact swapping with each other? I don't know. All right, D, smile and kick each other's shins. That sounds like something I think some of you would do. So there's that. So, hello. Thank you, Luke. I like that. That's really good. So, and then everyone just threw up. So, yeah, smile and kick each other's shins. All right, Matt, I hope you're ready with an answer because we're going to send it over for you right now. Yeah, none of these are COVID friendly. I spoke way out of turn there, Rachel. Yeah, nope, not happening. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. What you got for us, Matt? What answer you got for us? Oh, some people are still throwing in answers here. Sorry, might be. But Matt, go ahead and answer. Here we go. He is going with... Sorry, my chat's a little delayed. Matt says, I like Ben's visualization. So I went with A! Yeah! Thanks, Matt. That's terrifying. By the way, the next time when COVID's over and no one's freaking out about this, I'm doing that to someone. Okay, I'm not doing that. That's terrifying. But I can guarantee you, Jacob, a.k.a. Chad, is 100% doing that. So someone type !Chad in the chat for me, please. I think it's necessary here. So anyway, so there you go. Yeah, it's just terrifying. So A, did anyone say A? I don't think anyone said A on that one. So threw everyone off on that one. So it's good. Thanks. I hope you guys enjoyed the visualization there. So, yeah, there it is. Nailed it. So, yeah, it's a side of Jacob Lear we're just not very proud of. All right, next one. Here we go. Who's someone I haven't called on yet? So, yeah. Everyone's just spamming Chad now. All right, let's go with... Who's someone I haven't called on yet? Oh, Josh Holderly. There you are. Josh Holderly, you get to pick an alternate reality. You get to pick an alternate reality. And then we're going to do one more and we're going to call it up here. So pick an alternate reality. All right. So here you go. A, you're stuck outside for months avoiding a pandemic. Interesting. That sounds kind of familiar. All right. Everything's underwater and we all have gills. I think I've seen a movie about that. And it was didn't get good reviews. Yeah. Didn't. Everyone is a talking kitchen appliance. That's where the brave little toaster came from. And then everything that is water is now mustard. Talk about how awful the pool experience would be if everything was just mustard. Like your eyes, I feel like my eyes would just burn. You open up your eyes on accident and you're just burning, you know? Or you're trying to dive into the deep end and you just it's just like, I don't know if you could swim to the top. Like, I don't know how that buoyancy, and then what would the ocean be like? Because in the ocean, it's just a mustard. It's just mustard constantly going up on shore. It's like no one would ever go to the beach. It would be awful. It would be so bad. So, yeah. Luke says, I thought that was underwear, not underwater. Luke, that's good. Salty mustard. Oh yeah, it'd be salty mustard. Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's not like the worst thing. I mean, mustard's kind of already a little salty, but yeah, I'm kind of salty about that answer. All right, here we go. Yeah, Josh feeling good on that one. All right, so here we go. Let's give this a 5-second countdown here. All right, not a fan of mustard. I like mustard, but I would not like mustard in my ocean. I would not like an ocean mustard. That's just gross. I mean, the only upside is I could just slap a little bit on a piece of bread and, got my sandwich ready to go. All right. But I'm not sure I really want to. It's got fish poo in it, Anyway, all right, moving on. So, all right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm really great with fingers tonight. All right, yeah. Besides the point, Josh, just save me here and just give us the answer. All right, Josh, what you got for us? What's your answer? What possibility? What alternate reality are you rolling with here? He says A, right? Is that right? I see A. So you're stuck outside for months, avoiding a pandemic. I mean, that's yeah. I guess that technically is the alternate reality. You're stuck outside, not inside during the pandemic. So, yeah, okay, that's okay. I like that. I can go with that. I can dig it. All right, we're going to do one more here. And this time, let's throw it over to, I believe Samuel is on there, speaking as Sherry. So, all right, so we're going to send this one over to Samuel here. So, Samuel, give me the thumbs up if you're ready on this one. But here we go. This is what yours is going to be, your possibility. What is a rite of passage all the youths must do before becoming an adult? Just put an asterisk on this. These are not real ones. So this is a possibility. It's not a reality, okay? So don't get too far ahead of yourself and say, well, Ben told me if I want to be an adult, this is what I got to do, okay? Just disclaimer right here. It's on the interwebs forever now. I've disclaimed it. Okay, don't go doing crazy with me. Okay, he's right. All right, here we go. A, find and wrestle a badger, okay? Sounds like a good time. So, wrestle a badger. Could be terrifying. Do badgers bite? I'm assuming they do. Yeah.
They're vicious.
They're vicious. All right. A B, survive a gladiator-style death match, but trying to avoid monster trucks. So, yeah, you got to make it 21st century, right? So, you got to get in the right kind of time here. Write a 30-page essay on the importance of the barbecue to American culture. Okay. Interesting. So, I don't know. I somehow, Sammy, I don't think you're going to be much of the writer here on this one. And then D, live alone in the wilderness for a month with nothing but a spoon and a paper clip. Sounds like something Bear Grylls would do, except then he would have some people show up and give him a Subway sandwich. So, you know, there's that. So, anyway, all right, so Samuel, be thinking about which one that is for you. The rest of you guys, be throwing that one in there, which one you think it is. I mean, D, living alone, sounds pretty good, minus the whole, like, having to survive with only a spoon and a paperclip. That doesn't sound so great. I don't know where my food comes, you know, I like my food already cut up and ready to go and all that good stuff, so that's not my cup of tea, but, you know, it might be his, so you go there. Brandon is all caps. I changed my answer to D, okay, so we got it. Brandon, you're locked into D now. Okay, find and wrestle a badger. Got a couple people with B. All right, Samuel, hit us with your answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Here it goes. I'm like getting weird over here. So, he's going with the one least likely to result in his death. That is always a good answer. Oh, he's going with A. Find and wrestle a badger. Wow, I thought you were going to go with C then, because you're most likely not to die there. So, but A, find and wrestle a badger. Nice. That's awesome. I want to see someone wrestle a badger. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but after this, I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to find someone wrestling a badger. That's just what's happening. You know what I'm doing after this stream. It's just what's happening. So, all right, go ahead and put in your points at the end there. What was your total? Kind of go from there. And then, guys, thanks for playing the game of possibilities. Hope you guys hated it and had a good time with it. So he thinks the essay would actually kill him. I like that. That's good. So badgers, yeah, 30-page essay on the barbecue in American culture does not sound very pleasant experience. So anyway, all right. So with that said, let me pull this up really quick. We're going to go back to Boom. Big again. So Big Ben is back. So, all right. So we're going to throw it over to worship here in just a second. And I'm excited tonight. As I mentioned before, we got Dan Harkey is going to be leading us in worship. And Dan's been a really great friend of mine since I was a wee little lad. And but he was my worship leader when I was in youth. And he's just a really awesome guy. He's really upbeat, really nutty. And I think you guys are going to love him tonight. And so be sure to send him lots of love in the chat. Yeah, so look forward to worshiping with you guys in the chat room. Feel free to, again, as the worship goes, just be sure to respond in any way that God's kind of leading you. Just kind of let everyone know, just, hey, God's leading me in this moment during the song. And just remind it as a way to just encourage one another and to worship together digitally. So with that said, let's send it over to Dan and let him lead us in the time of worship in beautiful Wisconsin, Minnesota, somewhere up there. Yeah.
What's up, Concord Student Ministries? My name is Dan Harkey. There have been times that I have been with you, leading worship, speaking, having a good time. And at the moment, I'm here in beautiful Mosquito Land, Wisconsin, but still sporting the St. Louis colors. I get to join you for worship this week, which is a lot of fun for me. So it's great to see all of your lovely faces, though I can see none of your lovely faces right now. It's a little awkward, isn't it? Speaking of awkward, I know worshiping online is weird, and you guys know that very well by now. Thank you, Corona-19, for teaching us how awkward worshiping online can be. And I'm going to have, this first song has got motions to it. I'm not even going to show you what I think the motions are because you probably have your own motions. But it's My Lighthouse. I dropped it on the floor. Just a second. Yeah. So I'm going to imagine in my head that you guys are all at home watching this, singing really loudly and doing motions kind of boldly out there. And Lord, I pray for our time of worship tonight that you would know that our hearts are to praise you, our God, our lighthouse. Hear our praises tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Here we go. In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. In the silence, with paper outside, the wind blows the paper away. So, speaking of awkward, that's the only song with motions. But there are 2 more songs I'd love to do with you if you're still singing along and if the wind won't blow them away. The next one is I Choose to Worship, also by Wren Collective. And this is a pretty new song for me, and I love it. It's a lot like worshiping online, actually. You have to choose to do it because it's really hard to do. If you don't know this song, learn it with us here. Here's how it goes. I choose to worship. I choose to bow. Though there's pain in the offering, I lay it down. Here in the conflict, when doubt surrounds, though my soul is unraveling, I Lord, maybe my friends at Concord, maybe they feel alone right now. Maybe they feel like they're in the midst of a storm. Maybe they've lost so much this last semester that they're hurt. They're frustrated. They feel gypped out of what they earned or what was due to them. God, wherever they're at right now, your love for them is strong. Wherever they're at right now, you are still faithful. Point them back to you in your heart. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, Concord Student Ministries, praying for you today because Ben gave me the opportunity to pray for you guys. And Ben Wallman, I love you, man. I love all you guys. See you later.
So excited to be with everybody tonight. I was excited when Ben called me, actually, I guess probably about a month and a half ago, and Ben said, would you like to share with the students on a Wednesday night? And I was absolutely delighted. Student ministries at Concord's obviously a really great thing, and I've got to meet a number of you, and I can tell you're all really great, and I appreciate getting to be here tonight. I want to talk to you a little bit about something tonight but let me kind of introduce it by coming in kind of the back door, I guess you might say. Do any of you have parents who like country music? And if they do, you may have heard a song by Brad Paisley called Letter to Me. And it's written by him as if he, which is 30-something at the time, is writing back to himself when he is 17, and he's trying to tell himself the things that he would like his 17-year-old self to know. Well, about that same time, which was 2010 when that came out, there was a professor at Stanford University, a lady by the name of Tina Seelig, and she wrote a book called What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20. And her book was fascinating, but it was really the title that kind of inspired me to ask the question, what do I wish I had known when I was in high school? And that got me to thinking about what would I share with people in high school and middle school if I had a chance to tell them some things that I've learned since then that I think it would have been helpful to know back then. So I actually came up with 3 lessons that I want to share with you tonight that I wish I had known when I was your age. Now, you're probably going to know some of these, but you may not have thought very much about them. Others of them, you may never have even thought about at all. But I'm hoping that tonight, as we get into this, that it will be really practical and relevant for you. And I kind of hope it will expand your thinking, make you consider some new things. So before we get into that, let's pray real quickly and ask God to help each of us just to get something that will actually have an impact on our lives. So would you pray with me? God, I thank you for every student who's a part of tonight's session. I pray that you would help me to be really clear, understandable, and practical as I share. God, I pray that the things I share would be mentally challenging and would be spiritually challenging and would help every student as they're listening to be able to figure out something that will affect them in the days and weeks, months, and even, God, in the years ahead. I ask these things in your name. Amen. Okay, here's the first thing that I wish I had known when I was your age. And it's one of those things I kind of knew, but I hadn't really thought it through. Here's the first one. Life is short, treasure each day. Now, I sort of knew this lesson, but I didn't really understand it. Very few people die when they're teenagers, but I've done funerals for babies, I've done funerals for children, I've done funerals for teenagers, in addition to adults. I know young people sometimes die, but that's really not my point. The point is, everybody eventually dies, and so we need to understand that life is short. We need to make the most of it. Psalm 90 is the oldest of the Psalms. It's the only one we know to have been written by Moses. And let me read a part of it to you. I'm going to read portions of it, verse 4, 10, and 12. So here's what it says. 1,000 years in your sight are like a day that has just gone by, or like a watch in the night. The length of our days is 70 years or 80 if we have the strength. Yet their span is but trouble and sorrow, for they quickly pass and we fly away. Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Moses pictures God's view of time as being totally different than ours. He basically says to God, 1,000 years is what would be equivalent to a day for us, or even a night watch. Now, that's a military idea, or a shepherd in the middle of the night watching his flock. And I can only imagine that a soldier on watch in the middle of the night, or a shepherd watching his flock, the time would have gone down to the pace of a turtle. It would have been really, really bad. In fact, I went through a period about 20 years ago where I had a lot of trouble sleeping. And every night it just seemed like the time it drug on, and it was really, really slow. But then I noticed something. The next morning when I was looking back at the night before, it didn't seem nearly as long when I was looking at it in hindsight as it did when I was living it. And that's kind of the point, I think, that Moses is making here. When we're going through life, sometimes it feels like it's just going to almost go on forever. But when we look back at it, it always looks like, my goodness, where did it go? It's kind of like, at the beginning of the school year, the whole school year looms ahead. And then at the end of the school year, you kind of look back and say, where'd it go? That's kind of the way life in general is. Now, the average person who's alive today will live between 70 and 80, 85 years. That's up a lot from a century ago. But at the end of verse 10, Moses makes a point. He says, our days fly, they pass quickly. And trust me, your life is going to go faster than you can imagine. Actually, don't trust me. Trust what God says. That's what he says. Now, I'll be 60 later this summer, but I can still remember high school. And it doesn't seem I should be turning 60 this year. And here's a really important lesson to grasp. We need to live with the understanding that life is short, or we miss the point that we need to make every day count. And that's Moses' point in verse 12. In fact, I'm going to read it from the New American Standard because I like it. It's very literal. It says, teach us to number our days that we may present to you a heart of wisdom. Now, this isn't a lesson that we often grasp until we really pause and think about it, because being old and dying sounds so far away. But really what he's saying is, until you start thinking about the fact that your life here will not last forever, you're not really equipped to know how you should live. In fact, that phrase, number our days, the background of that Hebrew word is actually a word that means what we do when we add up our accounts, when we add up our bank account. In other words, He's not talking anything about bank. But what he's talking about is when we look at our days, our lives, and we realize that the number is limited, then we use them differently. Now, I suspect if Ben had $5 million in the bank, he might be driving a Corvette or some other really, really cool car.
Way cooler than a
Way
Corvette.
cooler? Okay, I don't know what he would drive, but probably wouldn't be the same thing you're driving now.
No.
No. There is one big reason that Ben's not driving that ultra cool car. You want to tell us what it is, Ben?
I don't have $5 million.
He doesn't have $5 million. He knows what he has, so he knows what he can spend. Now, Moses' point is kind of along those lines, but related to the days of our lives. He says basically, until you realize that life is short, you don't realize how precious every day is. Here's the reality. I have a friend who's a little younger than me, and I was talking to him today. He was just diagnosed with terminal cancer. And he's processing and realizing, he's not thinking I may have another 20 or 25 years. His doctors told him he's got a year or two, maybe 3 at the outside. Now, he doesn't go to Concord. This is not somebody you know. So don't panic. It's not somebody you know. But my friend is coming to terms with exactly what Moses was talking about. Everybody's life has a limited number of days. We don't know how long it's going to last. So we need to make the most of every single day. Every day, in essence, is a gift. And it changes our attitude when we realize that we don't have 1,000,000 days left. We've got limited time, so we need to use it wisely. Now, that point's not only made in the Old Testament. In the New Testament, the Apostle James makes it too. In fact, here's what he says in James 4, verses 13 to 15. He says, "Look here, you who say, today or tomorrow, we're going to a certain town and we'll stay there for a year. We will do business there and make a profit. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like the morning fog. It's here for a little while, then it's gone. What you ought to say is, if God wants us to, we will live and do this or that." And James' point is, we don't know what life's going to be like tomorrow. Making plans without considering how short life is foolish. James wasn't saying it's wrong to plan ahead and think ahead and make plans. That's not wrong. That's appropriate. But making plans as if time doesn't matter is wrong because it's not reality. When he says, how do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? And then he tells us how short life is in comparison to eternity. He said it's like the morning fog. You know how it is sometimes you get up in the morning and you look outside and it's all foggy? And then you get busy and you eat your breakfast and you do your stuff in the morning. And then it's not but about 9 or 9:30 and you look outside and it's gone. And that's the way God says life is. It goes really, really fast. So here's a statement I want you to consider. We should plan for tomorrow, but realize we don't know if our plans will happen. In fact, we don't even know if we will be here tomorrow. So it's foolish to live without planning, but hold on to your plans lightly. Here's why. I was talking to some adults not too long ago, and I asked them if their lives had gone the way they thought they were going to. Almost nobody said they did. We all had plans, and some things in life went the way we thought. You know what? My plan when I was about your age is I thought I might be a pastor. Okay? And that is actually what's happened. But I didn't think I'd end up in St. Louis. I didn't think I would go through some of the experiences that I've had. I didn't think I would have 5 kids. I didn't think any of those things. It has turned out a little different than I thought it was going to. Your life will be special, but it won't be quite what you think. So make plans, but don't hold on to them really tightly. Now, James is focusing on a businessman when he's talking about these plans. He could have picked any profession, but he said, here, today or tomorrow we'll go to this city, we'll spend a year there, we'll carry on some business, and we'll make some money. And that perspective doesn't seem wrong, except it misses 2 major points. It doesn't consider that life is short and that God is involved. The issue is God's left totally out of this person's plans. And here's the real question. How can we confidently plan for the future and leave God totally out of the picture when we don't know what's going to happen in the future and He does. Perhaps we understand that better right now because of COVID-19. Did any of you think that we would be doing Concord Student Ministries in our houses and that I'd be sitting in Ben's basement looking into a camera, talking to you? Did anybody think that's what would happen?
No.
No, not a single one of us. Life has turned out different. Now, there's some really bad things about all this, and actually there's some good things that have happened to this. You know, we're having to do some thinking and we're looking at things differently. And actually, one of the good things that comes out of this is it illustrates exactly what I'm talking about. You don't know what the future holds. I don't know what the future holds. So we ask God for His help, and we realize that we need to make the most of every day because we don't know what tomorrow holds. Okay, so that's big lesson number one. Big lesson number two. Life is going to be challenging. Live with perspective. Now, we're going to look at another passage. We're going to be looking at the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes is really an interesting book. Solomon, who the Bible says is the wisest man who ever lived, has unlimited resource and he's trying to find meaning in life. And so the whole book of Ecclesiastes is about how does he find this meaning? What's going to be really the central point of life? And honestly, it's kind of a fascinating book. It's kind of weird, actually, because a long way into the book, he is saying everything's vanity, everything's worthless. But at the end, he kind of comes to the realization that we kind of need to make the most of it and treasure everything because it's limited. Kind of the whole point of the first point. But let's read a little bit from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. And here's what it says. For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to quit searching, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. We don't always understand it, but God has a purpose for everything. Good stuff, and even He can use the bad stuff. There's a time to be born. Within the last year, or just over a year, Ben and Carrie gave us Zeke, and that is really, really cool. We love birth. That's one of the cool things I love about being a pastor. I frequently get to go to the hospitals and welcome babies. Get to spend time and look, oh, they're so cute and they're so sweet. Once in a while, I even get to hold them. Not every mom will let you do that, but once in a while I get to do that. But it's just really, really cool. Birth is neat. But just as much as birth is a part, so is death. Death's not nearly as much fun. Death is when we are giving up someone we love. Death is when the memories that we have are all going to be past tense, nothing future tense in this lifetime. You know, I can remember the first person who I was close to who died was my grandmother, my grandma. And she died when I was 12 years old, and I can remember just that sense of loss. It was an emotion I had never felt before. Every life has both of those in it. Times when we celebrate births and times when we grieve deaths. And Ecclesiastes 3 says there's a time for all these sorts of different things. There's a time for this, there's a time for that. In fact, there are 14 of those little couplets. This versus that. One's positive, the other's negative. Time to plant, time to uproot. A time to kill, time to heal. And remember, each of these is actually appointed by God. In verse 4, we learn there's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. You know, if we were crying all the time, we all know that wouldn't be good. But if you think about it, if all we did was laugh and we never ever got serious, That wouldn't work either. Consider this. Everyone experiences a unique mixture of good and bad in their lives. The happy and the sad, the upbeat times, the discouraging times. They're part of everyone's life. We don't only experience one, every one of us is going to live both of those. And here is kind of the point that I think Solomon is making. Celebrate the good times because they're special. You should treasure them. Endure the tough times because actually we usually learn more in the tough times than we do the easy times. And Solomon makes the point that we're to enjoy the good things of life because life isn't always going to be good. And then he makes the opposite point. We're to learn from the challenging times because while none of us likes them, they're part of everybody's life. And when you face the challenging times and it seems like the good times will never return, realize that isn't true. On the other hand, there's going to be some times when things are going perfectly. And I hate to tell you, but those times don't last either. Because everybody's life is a mixture of the bad times and the good times. We have to live with that perspective. I remember a perfect day in my life. I actually remember it because I remember thinking, I wish I could save this day and just live it again and again. My 3 oldest children, Johanna, Jedediah, and Cassandra. They're now 35, 32, and 31. But I remember when they were probably about, Johanna was probably 7 or 8, and then 5 and 4. So they were really cute ages. And I can remember being at my parents', and the weather was beautiful, everybody was healthy, everybody was getting along, everybody was happy. And I remember thinking, I wish I could save this day. I wish I could just live this day. And all of life was like this day. But that's not the way it works. My kids grew up. I didn't stay that age. My parents have gotten older. You know, as much as I would love to have saved that day, I couldn't. Because time keeps moving. That's the perspective. Now, a few years later, it went the other direction. And I had some really tough times. And let me give you another statement to just kind of chew on, to reflect on. Good and bad times cycle in and out of our lives as long as we live. You see, that statement in verse 6 is interesting. There's a time to search and a time to give up searching. There's a time to keep, and then there's a time to get rid of what you've got. To give up on what's been there. There's times to say, I've invested all that I can in this situation, and I'm going to give it one more push. And then there's a time to say, okay, it's time to cut my losses. I've done all I can do. In a nutshell, here is the point of verse 6. There's a time to be persistent, and there's a time to accept reality. And Solomon says your life is going to contain both, good times and bad times. Don't panic when bad things happen. Now, I want to go a little further over into Ecclesiastes to actually the 12th chapter, and I want to read verses 1, 2, and 3 with you. And here's what he says. It actually relates to people. It relates to people your age. He says, don't let the excitement of your youth cause you to forget your Creator. Honor Him in your youth before you grow old and say, life is not pleasant anymore. Remember Him before the light of the sun, moon, and stars is dim to your old eyes, and the rain clouds continually darken your sky. Remember Him before your legs, the guards of your house, start to tremble, and before your shoulders, the strong men, start to stoop. Remember Him before your teeth, your few remaining servants, stop grinding. In other words, your teeth fall out. And before your eyes, the women looking through the window see dimly. In other words, what he's saying is, hey, enjoy being young. It's really cool. Now, I'm going to be 60 in a couple months. And I can tell you, my body doesn't work like it did when I was your age. Now, thankfully, it still works reasonably well. But I'm the pastor of senior adults at Concord, and so I talk to a lot of people who are considerably older than I am. And I was talking to one of them recently, and she said, it's really hard because I'm in pain all the time. And really, Solomon is making a point that each of us need to live for God today. Remember your Creator while you're young. And the word remember here can be used in a lot of different ways. We can use it to speak of something we're likely to forget. And that's not quite what Solomon's talking about. He's more he's thinking about, remember this because this is really important. If you're not careful, this will get set to the side and you'll miss the point. So, here is really what he's saying. Don't put off serving God until you're older and wiser. Do it now. Now, I had an experience when I was in my early 20s that really impacted me a lot. It impacted my life. I had an uncle named Uncle Luther. Uncle Luther was crusty. And I asked Rusty, I said, can I use the word crusty? And he said, oh yeah, actually some of the students use that word. So yes, he was crusty. He was kind of rough around the edges. Not a bad guy. In fact, he was always really nice to me, but he didn't get along with these kids. And I went to see my Uncle Luther to visit with him and try to cheer him up, and I was totally unprepared for what happened when I walked into his room. Uncle Luther, that crusty, rough kind of guy, was crying. And I said, Uncle Luther, what's wrong? And I will never forget what he said. He said, I'm an old man. I only have a few days left to live. I've wasted my life, and it's too late to do anything about it. Now, I thought maybe he was talking about the fact that he hadn't made peace with God. That wasn't it. Because when I asked him, he said, no, I've made peace with God. I'm not afraid to die. But he confided that he had messed up his relationship with his family, and he didn't have enough time to really fix it. He could say he was sorry. That wasn't what he was saying. But he wasn't going to get to enjoy a long relationship with his family that he should have been able to and could have enjoyed if he had lived a little differently, if he had been less gruff, less crusty. You know, I don't really remember what I said to Uncle Luther, but I do remember what I prayed when I walked out of that room. I said a prayer that went something like this: God, let me live in such a way that when it is me in a bed getting ready to die, that I won't look back and say, I have wasted my life. Now, all of you are young, which is really cool. Your life stretches ahead of you. You can look forward to good things. But you know what? You need to make that a priority to live wisely so that when you get to the point my Uncle Luther was at, you're not looking back and saying, oh my goodness, I blew this life and now it's gone. That's the reason he says, remember your Creator when you're young. Life stretches out ahead of you. You can make the most of it. You can make some really good decisions. In fact, you're going to do that. Live wisely. Make the most of each day. Live with perspective. And that brings me to the final lesson that I want to share with you tonight. Life is going to be confusing. Focus on God. Here's what Paul wrote in Romans 12, 1 and 2. Here's what he said. And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all He has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind He will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship Him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of the world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Now, this final section may be a bit surprising because it's based on something a lot of people never understand. Scripture often talks about not being misled or pressured by changing the way you think and by letting the world push you into its mold. In fact, I think that those words are just very picturesque. The J.B. Phillips paraphrase says, don't let the world twist you into its mold. Which is really, it's a picture. Now, as I've gotten older, I think I'm finally beginning to understand just a little bit more what Paul's talking about. I wish I'd been able to understand it when I was your age. The reality is, I love my life. I love my friends. I love being a pastor at Concord. I love getting to work with Ben. He's really a cool guy. Threw that in for free, Ben. I love my life. I love my hobbies. I'm a photographer. I take lots of pictures. I get to write. I write a weekly newspaper column that's in 15 different papers. I have a really cool life that I really, really enjoy. That's not what Paul's actually talking about. What he's saying is be careful that we don't let the world around us force us to fit into its mold instead of conforming to God's values. Instead of living, really, he says, don't live for what's temporary and ignore what's eternal. Don't focus on the insignificant, instead focus on the significant. Let me see if I can explain it a little more by looking at something James wrote in James 1:27. Here's what he said. Pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. Now, the verse talks about genuine religion, and the first thing it says is it's serving people who can't give back to you. It's helping people who don't have anything to give back to you. It's helping widows because they can't repay you. Especially in that culture, widows were poor. Helping orphans. Orphans in that culture were often really destitute. They were treated really badly. And James says, listen, serving God the way you should means we serve and help people who don't have any way to repay us. That's the purest form of our faith. Then the final statement in verse 27 says we're not to let the world corrupt us. Now, how can the world corrupt us? Well, basically, it's just talking about sin. Don't fall into doing things you know will not please God. That's being corrupted by sin. So, here's the reality. I graduated from high school way back in 1978, 42 years ago. However, I remember the pressure I felt to conform in high school. It wasn't until I got out of high school that I realized that the little world, the high school world I had been in, suddenly ceased to exist. Oh, I don't mean they didn't have high school the next year, but I was no longer a part of that world. And the things that had been so important to me then, suddenly, it was all gone. Frankly, some of the people who were the coolest in high school have absolutely wasted their lives. So the reality is, don't let yourself fall into that trap of thinking that where you're at currently, the little world that you're a part of, is what ultimately matters. It's temporary. When I got out of high school, I went to college in Chicago, went to the Moody Bible Institute, and I entered another little world. And I was there for several years. I learned a lot. It was a really cool experience. I made some really good friendships. It was really, really awesome. And then do you know what happened? That little world ended too. It wasn't that it was bad. In fact, it was really good. I learned a lot. My horizons were expanded in so many different ways during college. But then that little world ended too. In fact, today, I don't even remember the last time I talked to somebody I went to high school with. And I occasionally talk to my friends from college, but not very often. Those little worlds that were so central to me, they popped up, and then they're gone. That's the thing I think I want you to understand in this final point about focusing on God, not the little stuff. We all get caught up in the things that are part of our little world at this moment. Favorite television program, our friends, YouTube videos, pursuing our hobbies. None of those things are wrong. But if our pursuits in this temporary world press us into the mold of the world and make us pull away from God, we're guilty of exactly what Paul talked about when he said, don't let the world push you into its mold. And when we do that, then we are corrupted, as James 1:27 talked about. These little groups that seem so important, these pursuits that we enjoy can easily take over our lives. But none of them last. They each make a short little appearance in our lives, and then we move into another new little world. When we begin living as though the most important thing in our life is the little world we're currently part of, we ignore the eternal world that God has for us. Now, we're to connect with our little world. I'm not suggesting we don't do that. Connect with your friends. Be a part of the high school group. Do all of those things. But just realize this is not what it's all about, because it's going to be a part of your life, and then it's going to be gone. It won't cease to exist, but your role in it will. We're to realize that none of these things last. In case you think I'm making too much of it, let me show you another passage from James. This one's over in James 4:8. Here's what James challenges us to do there. He says, come close to God, and God will come close to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, purify your heart, for your loyalty is divided between God and the world. So really what God does, God says, come close to me. Don't get closer to the world, get closer to me. And when you come close to me, I'm going to move closer to you as well. That's to be the priority. There are some really important points with God, and that's one of them. I want to share with you another spiritual principle that kind of sums up what we're talking about tonight. The world you live in today will not exist in 20 years. I don't mean the world is literally going to disappear, but the world, the place you're at in the world, will be gone in 20 years. God wants us to live with an eternal spiritual perspective. When we're in high school, most of us, that was the priority. Fitting in. Being cool. Then we graduate, and that world disappears. It no longer exists. College, we go through the same process. But the reality is, what's eternal is what really matters. How we invest our lives, using those limited number of days that we've got. If we use them wisely, then at the end, we look back, and it's like, I didn't waste it. My life made a difference. That's what I wish I had understood when I was your age. Now, the question of how you and I are going to do that is going to be answered a little differently for each one of us. But I want to actually conclude by telling you a story, true story, about a doctor who got put in the Gulag. Now, some of you have never even heard that word before. The Gulag was the Russian or Soviet prison system when communism first came to Russia. And basically, when the communists took over, they basically imprisoned anybody who disagreed with them. And a lot of people who didn't even disagree but said something that could be misunderstood. Well, one of the people who ended up, there were literally millions who disappeared into the Gulag, the prison system. Some of them never even knew why they were there. But I want to tell you a story of a gentleman by the name of Boris Kornfield. Wow, that's quite a name, isn't it? He was a Jewish medical doctor who lived in Russia in the early days of communism, when anyone who dared question anything about the Soviet thought, Soviet thinking, Soviet government was imprisoned and mistreated. And no one knows exactly how Dr. Kornfield ended up in the Gulag, but the Soviet prison system swallowed him up. He was there for a long time. In fact, he was really, really bitter at first. But eventually, he became a believer. Jesus became the center of his life. And he was transformed. On one occasion, he did surgery, because he was a surgeon. I mean, this guy was really, really smart. He did surgery on one of the guards who had mistreated him. And it would have been really, really easy to tie off the arteries a little loosely so they would eventually start bleeding and the guy would have slowly bled to death. But he didn't do that. He did what he was supposed to do. On another occasion, he was operating on a prisoner who had colon cancer. It didn't look like the man was going to live. And Dr. Kornfield's life had meaning because of his faith. And so he shared his faith in Jesus with this patient. In fact, the guy is going in and out of consciousness, and Dr. Kornfield thought he was going to die. And so he told the man about Jesus and how he had changed his life and given him meaning and how he could do the same for him. The patient eventually woke up and heard somebody being beaten, and it was actually Dr. Kornfield. Some of the guards heard him sharing his faith with the man and took him into the next room, and they literally beat him to death. It looked like he had wasted his life telling this guy the most important thing in the world to him. But it wasn't going to work out that way. The patient that he had thought was going to die ended up recovering. And he was so touched when he found out that his surgeon had died telling him about Jesus that he began to look into the faith too. And he eventually became a believer. He ultimately invited Christ into his heart. And it would be a great story if it ended there, but it doesn't. The patient who looked like he was going to die went on to become an author. And he was going to touch the entire world with the gift of his writing. The patient's name was Alexander Solzhenitsyn. That name may not mean anything to you. But God eventually used that man to throw off the oppression of the Soviet communist government. He literally, with his writings, helped bring the Soviet Union to its knees. It appeared at his death that Dr. Cornfield had wasted his life doing what was right. But that was so not the way it was. You and I, when we invest our lives, when we live for what really matters, God miraculously takes that and uses it in ways that you and I would never dream. He does things through us, through puny little people like us, people who don't have our act together, people who are seeking God but we haven't arrived yet, people who want to do good but don't always, people who go through good times and bad times, who sometimes cry and sometimes laugh, regular people like us. God uses us to do extraordinary things which He sometimes uses to change the world. I don't know what your life is going to be. You don't know what your life is going to be. But here's what I do know. God wants to use you, and He wants to use me. He wants to make the world a different place because we have not let the world press us into its mold, but we have let God transform us into the people He wants us to be. So, let me give you one final statement. The ultimate goal in life is not to be accepted by others, but to glorify God. So, here was the 3 points I've shared with you. Life is short. Treasure each day. Life is challenging. Live with perspective. Life is confusing. Focus on God. Let me conclude our time together by praying for you. Let's do that together. God, I thank you for every student who's watching tonight. I pray, God, that you would challenge all of us, me included, God. I'm way older than they are, but God, I pray that the remaining years that I have, you would help me to use wisely. And I pray for these students, God, as they're making decisions that literally at this point are going to affect the rest of their lives. God, help them to realize that it doesn't make any sense to live for themselves, but to draw close to you, let you draw close to them. And God, I pray that you would use this group of students to make such a difference that we can't even begin to imagine. Thank you for them. And God, thank you for the time we've been able to share together tonight. In your name I pray. Amen. Thanks again for letting me be a part of this Wednesday night session. Have a great week. Thanks for letting me be here. Bye.